to the fixtures.
Another game of hefty stats. Another shit show from the Hef. Let's see if he can solve it for next week. On to the fixtures.
Looks like he's still a fan of yours, Brian.
Yeah, I used to like the guy before, but we're growing apart.
I mean, to be fair, he speaks the truth. Though. You can't hate someone that speaks truth.
Yeah, that is true. We'll have to invite him on for a game.
The beastly part of the podcast. This is where the Hef and I give our tactical spin on the upcoming fixtures. But we're going to have a slightly different approach to it this week. We're going to go into a bit more detail for the first five, the big five as we're calling them. And then we're going to have what we're going to call a power 10 at the end. Because we haven't got all day, and neither do you. So we're going to give you those last few fixtures in under 10 minutes. And there's literally going to be a stopwatch, and me and Brian are going to have to keep to it. So we're going to get it done. It's going to get done. But where we have a little bit more leniency is these initial beasts. And we start with the featured fixture of the weekend. It's a big one, isn't it? First v third, Spurs v Chelsea.
Spurs living a dream, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So we look at the form. Chelsea, big win last week. Spurs, huge win against City. But the win record, 3 for Lamps, 1 for Jose. Bit of teacher versus the student going on here. And it looks like at the moment, the damn student's got the upper hand. And Chelsea, the entertainers, 22 goals in the league this season. Not messing about.
Yeah, very much so. And do we put that down to Werner and the Tammy Abraham effect? Those two, obviously Werner looking more comfortable playing out in his usual left. Penalty taker as well. So if fantasy-wise, if you'd like a penalty taker, he is a bit more expensive on the 9.5 range. But, penalty taker, Chelsea look to be coming into form. Someone should have predicted them as league winners.
Oh, yeah. This is actually both our picks against each other, thinking about, isn't it?
I think Werner's a good shout for your team right now and looking a bit more comfy in his role.
Yeah. And speaking of comfortable in the roles, I think Werner being on the left, also with Ziyech on that right drifting in, I think it's now looking a lot more settled for Chelsea. I know we had a bit of a blank last time out, Ziyech, but 28 points in the last 3. And I really do believe, in terms of tactics, he is the kind of player that Jose Mourinho's structured defences will hate to play against. Purely because he has very, I don't want to call it traditional movement, but he basically works off the cuff, but in an intelligent way, if that makes sense. So he doesn't do the same few things. He'll work out something's working, and if it isn't, he'll try something else. So, i.e., he's a bit of a Mahrez at that. He can shoot from range, he can drift in and be a bit more of a creative player, he can drift back out wide and whip the ball in. I think he could really pull apart some of those defenders who are supposed to be keeping an eye on him and be a key in this game. Finding that space, 8.3, do you think there's value in this one?
It's hard, isn't it? Especially with the limit of Chelsea players you can have, because obviously Chilwell does quite well in defence, doesn't he? So if you've already got like an Abraham Chilwell, then it's just like decide do you have like a Werner? Do you have Ziyech? It's hard.
Kane and Son fixture proof. I think a lot of people took them out with this horrible run coming up, and obviously City last week, Chelsea this week, and more to come. But at this point, you touched on it earlier, 84 points each. Son obviously 9.5 and Kane 11. Kane been involved in 45 goals in the 12 months Mourinho's been there, turning him into a monster, damn it. And what I noticed they do really well, and particularly in that City game, is Kane draws the 2 centre-backs in. He kind of hustles, tries to muscle with them, draws them in for that split second, and as they go, Son and Bergwijn, whoever's playing on the other wing as well, fly past the other way, which really splits defences in half at pace. So I think there's huge value in those two, and I don't think Jose's going to change that style for a little while. So, 84 points apiece, both doing the business. Do you have them both?
No, I actually don't think you do have them both. I think you've summed up Kane perfectly, because he is kind of now, people used to be so scared of Kane that the centre backs are just like either centre back magnet, isn't he now? And then that's why I think Son are doing so much better than they used to, just because everyone's so scared of Kane that they forget about, like you said, like the wingers, which is normally Son. I think that's why he's seen such a big surge. And at the same price and the same points. No, it's not the same price, the same points, but a lot cheaper for Son.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would have Kane right now. I know it's hard, like a weird thing to say, because he is obviously on 84 points, very, very good season. But I just don't see the logic. I just feel like just have Son, unless you want to be really greedy and try and get both the points.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have...
Yeah, so that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, you've got to have one or the other. I'll tell you who didn't have a good time recently. Arsenal. Last time out against Leeds looked absolutely shocking. And this week against Wolves, I think will be a very tough game. I'm not too sure what to make of that. We know that Pepe won't be in the team, will he?
Yeah, that's literally just about to say. Obviously, Pepe not being there. Not that that's a huge loss, because he can be very inconsistent. But I think he is definitely a danger. Not necessarily on paper in like goals and assists, but I think with his, he's probably one of the best dribblers in the league. So I feel like he's always got those fullbacks on edge. I could see one of three people really coming in to replace him. You can either take a risk with the likes of Saka and Nelson, who were cheap, 5.3 and 5.2, or you go with Laka, who just hasn't really been on form this season. But it probably does seem the most logical to play, and then maybe Aubameyang move out in the wing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that one. 8.3 as well. He's probably due a goal just because of how bad he's been, but it's a bit of a gamble. And Wolves as well, gone off the ball a little, still playing well, but just not picking up the points as they'd like. My boy Neto, 5.5, did get another goal, and I think he's another good one who can balance out your team in terms of having that cheap midfielder option if one of your big boys doesn't play. He's a good shout, and I think he could do some damage in this game as well, that kind of inside forward in the 3-4-3 that Wolves play. I think that could cause problems, but I think it's going to be tight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think tight. And I also think it'll be almost tactically tight, if that makes sense. I feel like both teams, when they look at this fixture, would be happy with a point. I think it could go either way, maybe 1-0 if the teams aren't really pushing from it. I think Arsenal have the advantage down the wings. I feel like, because I think Wolves normally play some sort of variation of a 3-4-3. So I think down the wings, Arsenal could have a bit of success, especially if someone like Saka comes in. He's going to be looking to impress. He wants to get in the team regularly. So expect maybe a big game from him if he is listed there. But I think, to be honest, both teams would probably shake hands on a draw right now and get that done with.
Lovely. Jubbly.
My kind of second team, it seems. Leeds United. Everton versus Leeds.
No pitch, no cry.
I know. Yeah. I know, you like a certain Brazilian, don't you, in the old Everton South?
Ooh, Richarlison. He's so happening in his style, and he just drags everybody else's performance up that 10-20%. Like, the reason for me Everton have been looking great recently is because they haven't had someone who's causing a bit of chaos. And I think Richarlison is great. He's like a bit of a energizer. He's kind of everywhere. And I actually think at the same price as Calvert-Lewin now, 7.9, he could be the one to look at over Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But let us see. And in this game particularly, with Leeds' frantic style, I think he'll be the one making things happen for Everton.
Yeah, but you're talking, these are big energy words. You're saying energising, you're saying frantic. And then you look at the ultimate energizer bunny, Klitsch. You think Klitsch is going to let the fancy free of Everton just move around and Bielsa? This is going to be Bielsa ball 2.0, I can actually see Everton having a horrible time. Because if you shut down Everton's front three, they don't do anything.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually. If you stop James out, and Klitsch on James does worry me slightly, I will be honest about that. But it'd be interesting. I think this would be a very tight one.
Get the injuries ready, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get the ice pack ready. It's going to be very interesting, this one. Everton been leaking those goals as well. 16 goals in 9 games, so roughly 2 a game. And obviously the goals they're getting at the other end and papering over those cracks. But if you're thinking the styles make fights and the Leeds can cancel out Everton, who would you say to be looking at from a Leeds point of view?
I think defensively, Liam Cooper is looking like good value, 4.4. they're getting more clean sheets